Hein today, but it's a pleasure to speak to you this morning. I am Daniel Els, and I'm a conveyancer at STBB. And today we are briefly going to discuss the bond registration process. I'm just going to give you a bird's eye view of the process. And remember, this is not a formal presentation, so please feel free to interrupt me, or maybe it will be easier to ask questions at the end of the presentation. So the bond registration process essentially starts once a purchaser receives his or her bond approval. So if you have a sale agreement and it's subject to the purchaser obtaining a bond, once that bond has been approved, the bank will instruct a firm of attorneys to attend to the registration of the mortgage bond. In order for the attorneys to receive that instruction, you must serve on the panel of the attorneys. So the bond instruction is allocated on an automatic allocation system, but the purchaser or the client can ask the bank if his or her attorneys can attend to the registration of the bond. It depends as to whether the bank will allow it. The bank has a discretion to allow it, but if the client's attorney does not serve on the panel of the bank, then that firm of attorneys will not be able to attend to the registration of the bond. And remember, the bond attorneys, they are acting in the best interest of the bank. They are taking instructions essentially from the bank. And if we are the bond attorneys, we need to look out for the interest of the bank and to ensure that there's no risk for them. A typical example, and this often happens in practice, is when a bond is approved, the bond attorneys who has been instructed to attend to the registration of the bond will receive a copy of the OTP. If that OTP was signed electronically, we as the bond attorneys must bring it under the attention of the bank, because an electronic signed sale agreement is not enforceable. It's a null and void agreement. That is a discussion for a different day, but that is a typical example of where there will be risk for the bank, because the Alienation of Land Act specifically states that a sale agreement must be physically signed in wet ink, not electronically. So that is a typical example of where the bank will be notified of possible risk. The bank will then request that the sale agreement be re-signed physically in wet ink. Usually that can be picked up earlier in the process. For instance, when the purchaser is also dealing with a mortgage originator, once the mortgage originator liaises with the bank, it can also be picked up that the sale agreement was signed electronically. But if it's not picked up during that stage, the bond attorneys will definitely pick it up, or they should pick it up. So this is a typical example of a bond registration instruction. You will see there in the first highlighted part, that paragraph 3, it states that an amount of 1 million rand will be retained. We often see retention amounts on bond instructions. Yes.
Sorry to stop you. You just need to change your slides, because we still just seeing the intro slide.
Oh, is it? And
Yeah.
still nothing.
So I can just see the intro slide. I can see your slides down this left-hand side, but I think you've got to click on your slide so it changes on our screen.
It's changing on my screen. Are you still not seeing any of the slides?
No.
Let me just quickly see if I can resolve it. Sorry about that.
No problem. Yes, now the slide has changed.
Okay, let's just quickly see.
Okay, so I can see at the top of that slide is instruction to attorneys.
And is it moving now?
So no, it's still the same slide.
Still no movement.
Yes, now we've got just example of a bond registration instruction.
Okay, but then you can obviously see the whole Excel layout as well. You don't see it as a full slide.
Yeah, no, we don't see it as a full slide.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, sorry about that, I will just then go back to Excel and then I'll make it a full slide again. So we were here at the instruction to attorneys, and now you can see the example of the bond registration instruction. Can you see the slide with that example?
I can see the slide.
Michelle?
Perfect. Yes, can see it.
Okay, perfect. So you'll see there in paragraph 3, there's a highlighted portion that says an amount of 1 million rand will be retained. So I was just mentioning that we often see bond instructions where a specific amount is retained. And the reason for that is because the bank, they can impose conditions that must be met before the bond can be registered. So an example that we are currently dealing with on a matter is where the bank has approved the bond for a purchaser, but they have specifically requested that certain repair work be attended to before they will give a go-ahead for the transaction to be registered in the deeds office. In our example, the bank stated that 40,000 Rand of the loan amount will be retained before and that will only be released once the repair work has been attended to. So essentially, it means that the repair work must be finalized before registration. And once the repair work has been finalized, the bank goes back to the property to see that repair work is up to standard. And then they will notify the bond attorneys that 40,000 Rand will also be released on day of transfer. So that is why we often see retention amounts on bond instructions. Then just making sure you can see the following slide, the slide that states bank can impose conditions.
We can see it. Thanks, Daniel. Perfect.
Michelle?
Yes, I can see it. It's perfect.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to check. So this brings me then to the following slide. I just quickly mentioned repairs. So remember that the bank, they can always impose conditions that must be met before the transaction will be registered. A typical example, and this creates a lot of headaches in practice, and it is building plans. So the bank, and we often see this now on bond instructions, is that the bank, they request a copy of approved building plans before the transaction can be registered in the deeds office. So essentially they are saying that we will only give confirmation that this bond can be registered once we receive a copy of the approved building plans. And obviously, if the bank doesn't give confirmation that the bond can be registered, it means that your transfer can obviously not proceed, because the finances is coming from the bond where the purchase price will be paid from. So we are currently dealing with a matter where the bank has requested a copy of approved building plans. No building plans were in place, and that transaction has been dragging for almost 1 year because the bank wants a copy of the approved building plans, and it's in the process of being approved by council. Because remember, it takes time to draw up plans and then to lodge it at council and to go through the whole examination process at the specific municipality and for the plans to be approved. And then once the plans are approved, the bank will also request the occupancy certificate, which means that the building inspector must go out to the property to ensure that the property and the plans conform with one another, and then only will the occupancy certificate be issued. So that creates, unfortunately, enormous delays on transfers where there's a bond and where the bank wants a copy of approved building plans and where there is, unfortunately, an absence of plans in the first place. It is much easier to deal with such a condition if you're dealing with a cash transaction. We often see it on transactions where the purchaser will impose a condition in the sale agreement to state that he wants a copy of the approved building plans. If it's a cash transaction, it's very easy to negotiate with the parties to say, let's proceed with transfer, let's pay the estate agents their commission, but we withhold a percentage of the purchase price to ensure that the seller will get the approved building plans to the purchaser after registration. Once the plans are approved, we will release the amount that we retain in our trust account. But the bank will never agree to this. They will never say, it's fine, you can register, withhold a percentage of the purchase price in your trust account. They don't agree to it. They want the plans before registration. And there's a very good reason why they are requesting plans. Because remember, you might maybe let's say you sold the property for 3 million rand, and the purchaser applies for a bond, a full bond for 3 million rand. The bank approves the bond, and now it comes to light after transfer that there were no approved building plans for the property. The risk is that if the property were not constructed according to municipal regulations, it means that it can have the effect that the municipality can order that some of the structures actually be demolished. So the risk for the bank is that now they've approved the bond for 3 million rand, but in actual fact, they are only sitting with a property of a value of, let's say, 2.5 million rand. So that is the relevance of building plans and why the bank is requesting it. Repairs I've discussed in the previous slide. Another standard condition that the bank will impose is insurance. So structural insurance, the bank will always request that the purchaser must obtain structural insurance over the property, which insurance policy will kick in on day of registration of transfer. Why the banks are requesting it? It's for security purposes. Because let's say the property is not insured, the property burns down, then the bank has no form of security left for the money that they've advanced to the purchaser. So that is the relevance behind structural insurance. And the bank also has a discretion to request that a purchaser gets life insurance as well. But it's not a standard requirement. It's up to the bank's discretion. Suretyship, that can also become applicable. Let's say, for instance, I'm buying a property in the name of my company or in the name of my closed corporation. The bank can request that I then stand surety for the company's obligations before they will give the go-ahead for the bond to be registered in the deeds office. And then another standard requirement is FICA of all parties. The FICA process, as you know, it can become quite a bit administrative, especially if you're dealing with entities, for instance, a trust. So then the bank will require the FICA of all the trustees, the beneficiaries, etc. So that can become quite an administrative task, and that's why it's very important to get all the FICA at the inception of a transaction to ensure that there's no delays during the transfer and bond registration process. Then briefly the bond registration process continued is that the bond attorneys will make contact with the transferring attorneys to advise on the guarantees available for registration. What that means is, let's say, for instance, the purchaser had to obtain a bond, for argument's sake, for 1.2 million rand, but the bank has only approved a bond for 1 million rand, which the purchaser then accepts. It means that I, as the bond attorney, will advise the transferring attorney that I have 1 million rand available on day of transfer. The reason why I'm conveying this to the transferring attorney is so that the transferring attorney will be made aware of the finances on his transaction. So in other words, if your purchase price is 1.2 million rand, and the bond attorney advises the transferring attorney that he or she only has 1 million rand available, it means that the transferring attorney is 100% aware of the fact that 200,000 rand must still be paid by the purchaser for the transaction to become financially secured. So the bond attorney will always advise the transferring attorneys of what amount they have available on day of transfer. Then the bond documents will be drafted and an appointment will be scheduled for signature purposes. The process has quite developed during the years. All bond documents, or most bond documents, are signed electronically, which speeds up the process as well. Once the documents are signed electronically, then it's submitted to the bank. Remember, there's a difference between the signing of bond documents electronically that is permitted, but like I said at the beginning of the presentation, it's not permitted to sign documents electronically, to sign a sale agreement for immovable property electronically. Then once the bond documents have been signed, the bond attorneys will provide the signed documents to the bank, and they will then scrutinize the documents to ensure that it's signed correctly. That's why it's very, very important to sign documents correctly, to ensure that if a document must be witnessed, that the witnesses have signed at the relevant pages. It seems like not like that it can become quite a big issue, but it can create delays, because if there's a witness that has missed a page, the bank will actually send those documents back to the bond attorneys to ensure that it's signed up correctly. So the smallest thing can create a delay. And then once the bank have scrutinized all the signed documents and they're happy that all the conditions have been met, then they will give the bond attorneys the go-ahead that they may proceed with lodgement in the deeds office. And then lodgement will be coordinated between the bond attorneys, the transferring attorneys, and the bond cancellation attorneys, if applicable. So remember, there can be 3 attorneys usually involved in a registration process. So it's the transferring attorneys, who will obviously be transferring the property. You have the bond registration attorneys, the attorneys who's registering the bond of the purchaser, and then you can have the bond cancellation attorneys, the attorneys that's cancelling the seller's existing mortgage bond facility. So lodgement must be coordinated between all those 3 attorneys. It can happen that all the transactions can be attended to by one attorney. That makes life very easy for us. So it often happens that we at STBB, we receive the transferring instruction, the bond instructs us to attend to the registration of the bond, and we receive the instruction to cancel the seller's existing bond. That simplifies things. It makes things a lot easier if everything happens under one roof, because it can become quite challenging if you are dealing with an attorney that's maybe not so wake up. They take long to get the bond registration in place, their processes, or to get all the requirements in place for the cancellation of the seller's existing bond, and then it creates delays during the transfer process and the bond registration process. And that's just an example of bond documents. And then finally, once the transaction is lodged in the deeds office, the bond attorneys will immediately notify the bank that the transaction has been lodged, and you keep the bank updated on the status of the transaction in the deeds office. On day of registration, you immediately notify the bank that the mortgage bond has registered and that the property has transferred into the name of the purchaser. Why it's so important to do that as soon as possible is so that the bank can pay out the proceeds of the loan into the transferring attorney's trust account, so that the transferring attorneys can pay the purchase price to the seller and pay the commission to the estate agency. Then the original title deed, once that gets delivered, it will get delivered to the transferring attorneys. The transferring attorneys will then forward that to the bond attorneys, and the bond attorneys will provide the original title deed to the bank for their security purposes. Because without the original title deed, the property cannot be transferred or sold to any third party. So that is the talk in a nutshell. Is there anything that you want to discuss? Do you have any questions at this stage?
Thank you, Daniel. It doesn't look like there are any questions. I think it was very precise and to the point. All good.
Perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my contact details in the chat section. If there's anything that you want to discuss, you're welcome to contact me in Hein's absence. So I will insert my email address in the chat section. So please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any questions. We are always happy to help.
Super. Thank you so much, Daniel. And thank you so much for stepping in for Hein. Much appreciated.
Not a problem. It was good to see you this morning.
Great to see you. Have a great day further.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Right. Good morning, everybody.